What's more true? Hey, I've attracted 356 people to the company and I haven't picked up the phone once. And he was like, I don't agree with that. I think you should pick up the phone. And I'm like, I get it. What you're saying is true, but there's some context. When I tell people that I did 100 deals and 75 were expireds, they're like, oh my God, because they're thinking about doing that today's world. It's impossible to do in today's world. I did that in 2010 when we had the highest number of expired listings ever. And when he was in the company in 4 years ago, but that's where they went from 20,000 to 80,000. So it's like, okay, yeah, I mean, I get it, that worked, but the problem is it's not scalable. So at his age, at 65, he's still having to do that. Yeah. Yes? Yep. And what I was like, hey bro, when I'm your age, I won't have to do that because people call me.
So is he doing any?
No. And he was poo-pooing it, you know? He's like, no, it's bad. And like, trust me, like, I know what I'm talking about. I'm like, okay. And then I'm like, well, here's what's interesting.
Did you have that dialogue on stage?
Yeah, like in front of everybody. Yeah. So, and I was like, all right, well, what we're talking about is scale. So I used to do the one-to-one and I did 200 units, you know what I mean? Fine, it works, but there's something that's actually more scalable. So me doing events, that's one-to-many, that's better. Yep. Yes, more leveraged. But the media thing is leveraged, it's infinitely scalable. I'm sending myself in the digital form to go have conversations with agents all the time, perpetually, constantly, nonstop. While I'm talking to you guys, somebody's watching a video right now. Yep. Does that make sense? Yep. He just couldn't. Right. So, and one's being made as we're talking. So like what I'm aware of is he just couldn't see that. What just lets me know your understanding of leverage, but that's okay.
But I also love that this is the environment that those two ideas can get up.
Can clash.
And then people can listen to both sides.
And they can make their own decision. Yeah. So yeah, because in other environments, it just gets shut down immediately. At one of the first sessions or in a mastermind we were in, they were like, hey, there's a difference between being competitive and being ambitious. So competitive people compare to others.
Yep.
But you can never reach your full potential being competitive, purely. What's up, brother? Get some rest?
Yes, I did.
Yeah, you were struggling yesterday, bro. Hey, 10,000 agents. You know what he said to me, by the way? I asked him, what's your biggest challenge right now? Finding something to be passionate about. And he said, even at his numbers, he was like, yeah, like he didn't grow up with a lot of resources. Yeah. It's like, I still kind of think about it. I'm like, are you kidding me, bro? Just shows that it's psychological. It's not. So, but anyway, ambitious is where you have a love of learning. And he gave an example of in the NFL, they did that documentary between Mahomes and Kirk Cousins and Marcus Mariota. Well, here's what he said. Kirk Cousins, competitive and compares himself to other people. He said competitive people, oftentimes they also, like Kirk Cousins will have 2 good games, but then 1 really bad game. He has this trophy room, like this room of me, and he pulled out like his schedule, like the way his coach described him when he was in high school. He's like, yeah, that's still me. He looks at Mahomes, and Mahomes is constantly doing what? Innovating. He's throwing sideways. He's like, you know what I'm saying? Coming up, and who's having
the run game, the whole deal, yeah.
Who's having more fun? And who's won more rings? What it made me think about is that previous environment we were in, competitive,
right?
Purely. Not ambitious, not interested in learning new things, interested in learning one thing and one thing only.
In fact, closed off.
Closed off. In fact, when anybody talks about anything that's new, what happens? Poo-poo, stupid, dumb, don't do that.
Yeah.
Yes?
And don't even show up.
And don't even show up or think about it. And if you do show up, you're not part of my crew and like, boom, you're done. Which that doesn't lead to, you don't have a lot of fun. Because ambitious people have more fun because they're constantly learning new things. They're having like a blast because they're just learning. I mean, it's interesting when you look at your evolution. You know, you went from someone who saw yourself in the crowd to now seeing yourself on the stage.
Yep.
But that had to do with somebody casting that vision for you because you hadn't even perceived that or thought of that in any way. Then you went from somebody who was like, nah, dude, I don't do media and was wildly uncomfortable. Now you just hired a videographer full time. Yep. Right? Like that's ambitious. You were competitive before.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Yep.
And what's happening? Are you having more fun?
It's a lot.
It's a lot more fun, bro. So I know like what they were saying is true. I mean, even here, like we've talked about, like the fact that they want me to speak on media is comical to me.
Right.
Because 3 years ago, I would have made fun of people who do media and be like, it's silly, dumb, don't do that. It's a waste of time.
How many people in the audience are going to be like that and will be affected by what you said?
Right. Yeah, the goal would be is just to like, because I think to myself, like, what, because it's such a short period of time. It's like, what could you say that if people walked away with it, they're like, 50% of the way there. You know what I'm saying?
Yep.
Uh,
Because what is it? 45 minutes.
yeah, and there's 3. Yeah, and there's like a couple people. Yeah, I could talk for like an hour just on it. Yeah, but
What did you come up with?
no. So I think what I came up with is story branding. So like what I think is really cool is that today, even though I didn't hear it, they're talking a lot about it. When it comes to technology, most people get lost in the weeds and the mechanics.
Yep.
They'll get lost in the AIs, the chat GPTs. And really that's the minutia of like the technical component of creating, whether it's thumbnails, you know, like editing, whatever, right? But nobody's talking about strategy, which is how to position yourself as a guide to help people to solve their problems. And what everybody else is doing is using their media as a mechanism to glorify themselves.
Yeah.
Yes?
Yep.
Here's me and my listing. Who's the hero? Me. Here's me with the property I sold. Who's the hero? Me. Here's me with my grandkids. Who's the hero? Me. And I think that's actually more important than the minutia that people get lost in. We'll see how that goes over.
Yeah.
I think everyone's gonna be like, well, you know, I do
But people love my
They-
kids stuff.
yeah.
And
but yeah, you know, I want to talk about all the tools I use. And I was like, okay, I guess so. Because I feel like agents get like, I asked 3 agents that are in our org that are here, and I'm like, what'd you think of the AI talk? And they're like, they get like overwhelmed.
well, but that goes back to even the delivery of that presentation.
Right. And it's like overwhelming. Is this where we're going?
Yes.
Yeah?
Yep.
This where the really cool people go? Is that what's going on? All right, let's just find a table, bro, in the back. Who gives a shit?
The table you reserved.
Okay.
Choose another.
No problema. De nada. Hey, no big deal. Hey, no big deal. Just a billionaire standing over it. Hey, what other company does that happen? Bebe, do you have hand sanitizer by any chance? Dang, I gotta walk like a mile to wash my hands. We'll see who has discipline. But what happens if somebody calls you or somebody texts you or somebody sends an email? Is your email up in front of you while you're doing it?
No.
I'm sorry, what? Is your cell phone around you while you're doing it?
Cell phone's there, but it's on silent.
Oh, I'm sorry, what?